Live from the Business RadioX studio in Atlanta, it's time for Dental Business Radio, brought to you by Practice Quotient. Practice Quotient bridges the gap between the provider and payer communities. Now here's your host, Patrick O'Rourke.
Hi there, friends of Dental Business Radio. This is your host, Patrick O'Rourke. Thank you for joining us today. Want to thank our sponsor of the show, Practice Quotient, PPO analysis and negotiation. Practice Quotient is top tier representation for top tier providers to get top tier compensation and make sure that everything's fair and equitable with your business partners in the insurance industry. If you don't think you're being treated fairly, you should contact Practice Quotient at 470-592-1680 or visit their website at www.practicequotient, that's Quotie, and as in Nancy, T.com. Practice Quotient, like intelligence quotient, but Practice Quotient. So thank you to Practice Quotient. And that brings me into Dr. Nathan Kupperman out of Northern Florida. How are you today?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Pat.
So Nate is building a burgeoning dental enterprise in the Northern Florida area, specifically the Panhandle. Mm-hmm. Would that be an accurate description?
That would be an accurate description, Pat.
So how many practice locations do you have now?
We are at 5 locations.
5 locations. And so what's really unique is that, to me, you have one location that's directly on the Florida State University campus. Go Seminoles, right?
Mm-hmm. Go Noles.
Go Noles. We should do that. I was going to do that at the beginning of the show, but I don't have any harmony or talent in that. Otherwise, I'd be doing music. Not
same exact chant as the Kansas City Chiefs. So
I believe the Seminoles had it first. And so, last time the Chiefs came to Florida, it didn't work out so well.
No, it did not.
I'm just saying they came to the Tampa, City of Champions. Shout out. I happen to know some very cool people from Tampa. And at any rate, so you're over there. So you have a practice on FSU, and then you have started expanding, because the first time I talked to you was actually a couple of years ago, where you had the one practice and then you had another practice, and there was a difference in the practices, not just the campus thing, but there's also a difference in your network participation. And so I think that you've kind of discovered probably on your own that there's different ways, or there's different strategies for your network, depending on your practice. So it depends on where your practice is and some other factors. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I would say at the college campus, it's very heavily insurance driven. And then as you get out to more of the rural offices, it's a lot more fee for service ratio wise compared to the PPO. But I think it's good to have a nice payer mix, because I think it creates a consistency of patient flow. You're going to get those fee for service patients, those pie in the sky patients, here and there. But it's nice to have that consistent flow of the PPO coming in. Another thing too that I think I've kind of discovered is I've kind of started to shift out of network with insurances, and I hire providers and I put them in network. So, the patients that absolutely, want to use their insurance can. But then, sometimes you have patients that come in and they meet me and they're fine paying fee for service fees. So, at the end of the day, I think like a PPO it's kind of like a marketing technique, because, you're taking the write-off, you're taking a 25-30% write-off on fees, but, you're getting patients in the door. So it's a good thing, especially if you're doing, implants and surgery. It's, PPOs are pretty reasonable when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Well, that's something that is nice to hear. PPOs are reasonable. So, it's kind of the gospel that I preach, is that PPOs are quite useful and effective depending on circumstances. And it depends on the practice and what your patient acquisition and retention strategy is. Obviously, how much is a practice reimbursed based on what the treatment mix is. And, but it's not free marketing. It's just outsourced marketing, if you really think about it. If you're getting, let's say 30, you said 30% discount. So I think that that's fair, right? So let's say that you're getting 30% discount off of your standard fees. Let's assume that your standard fees are, reasonable, right? For the area, for Tallahassee in your case. You're spending $30,000 to get 70. Is that fair? Sure. I think, because your overhead
better. It's better 70 than nothing, right?
Right. And so, I think the challenge is sometimes when the reimbursements get down to like 50 cents on the dollar, and then you're like, well, you're not covering your overhead.
That's why you got to stay away from those certain insurance companies, which I will not name.
Gotcha. Well, they appreciate it, and I appreciate it because sometimes they call. I don't know. I think we have a productive conversation occasionally, but I'm not trying to call anybody out on the show. You know who you are. So you found, and I also think that, and this is for our listeners, one of the things, I think it's important to promote, because that's what you're doing, is the dental insurance company is using Nathan Kupperman's name, right? And NAC Dental Group as that's the product. So you guys are actually at the point of service. You're delivering the care, right? And so they're using your name to promote and say, hey, well, we have a network and these are top tier docs over here. They're doing implants. They're doing all the great things that you guys do there. And so they're using that to promote their brand. And so it should be viewed as a partnership between you. And I realized that not everybody on either side of the ball, completely embraces that philosophy, at least privately, but that's my view. And so I think that you understanding that, particularly at this stage, that's awesome. You're like, look, if I can't, compensate my associates, as they should be, because you're recruiting really talented associates from what you were telling me. And you need to be able to compensate them, right? And that's part of it. And so if they want NAC Dental Group, then it just needs to be reasonable. It just has to be equitable. It's not like you're trying to, if you're getting less than 50 cents on the dollar, I always tell my clients, I'm like, well, listen, what's the difference between 50 cents on the dollar or, giving a 50% discount to ABC company, or, I'm not going to name any names. It doesn't really matter because it's unfair about it, versus going on Groupon every single day. Hey, I'm half off. Come on in. What's the difference? Yeah. And I'm not endorsing Groupon either, by the way. So every time I say that on stage in front of, 100 docs, somebody from Texas jumps out of their chair and they're like,
funny too, because I feel like in cities, you see like the Groupons for like the whitening and stuff.
Yeah, there's some controversy on it. And so Texas
I just hope dentistry isn't like completely commoditized like that. But, I think sometimes it's kind of inevitable, especially with, I've seen some stuff with like Walmart is already starting to try to hire dentists. And that's going to be pretty interesting too. But that's why I almost think though, to remain competitive, you're going to have a group of offices. You're not going to be able to just be that solo office if you got Walmart down the street, charging, $10 for a filling or something. But
well, let me ask you a question. Did you realize that Walmart also had a salon and a barbershop?
Did they?
Well, you ever got your haircut there?
No, they do have optometrists though. I think they do pretty well with that.
Listen, I'm sure that they do well with everything that they do. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that you look like a guy who cares about his hair.
Yeah.
I care about my hair too. I like, I'm very particular about who touches my head.
Yeah.
And so I've also heard this with dentistry where it kind of becomes a commodity, and that it'll go the way of like pharmacy, for example. Maybe, I'm not Nostradamus or Miss Cleo. I can't predict the future, but
hopefully not in my lifetime,
I think that people care about who puts fingers in their mouths. Let's say, just for the sake of conversation, 50% of people don't. The other half certainly do, and I'll raise my hand as one of them, and then even out of that, let's say half of the people don't. They'd certainly care who puts fingers in their kids' mouths, I would imagine. Now, not everybody, but, for every person that says yes, there's a person that says no. So back to NAC Dental Group. I like your slogan. Give me the slogan, the motto.
So I like to say that we have a knack for dentistry. We have a knack for relationships, for business. So it's kind of what I aim for.
And John Ray liked that a lot because he's simple like that. And he likes things that he can remember.
You gotta kiss, man. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the way to do it,
Right. And so I'm looking at your website, right? And I was looking at this earlier. I'm like, wow, well, I'm not seeing NAC Dental Group and just like, wow, this is the greatest dental, like that's there. Don't get me wrong. But I see practice management, apprenticeships, consulting, tax planning. Are you doing tax advising?
I am not an accountant, nor do I, endorse myself as an accountant, but I do work with a very good accounting firm. Mm-hmm. So I definitely get a nice, referral base going to if a dentist comes on and they're looking to get tax advice. I definitely have a network to spread to them because I don't know about you, Pat, but I get really excited about taxes and I get excited about the tax structure, and kind of it's the whole thing is doing what the government wants you to do. And then they reward you. And it's as simple as that, but you have to play by the rules,
Mm-hmm. Gotta understand the game.
Yeah. So, and somebody who's interested in that, that's a door that I'm willing to open for them when they come on board.
I'll give a shout out to our tax guy who's my partner, Scott Marquardt, who doesn't listen to the show. So, at any rate, as he tells me all the time, wow, it's crucial. Like, how are you structured, right? What are you doing? Are you creating a nexus? Like, the easiest way to build wealth in this country, or one of the key components, is tax mitigation.
Yeah.
Like,
creating tax shelter, leveraging debt to create tax shelter, to create cash flow. And it's just like a never ending process. Mm-hmm. And then you're building equity at the same time. And it's a beautiful thing. And, when dentists can kind of open their eyes and see the bigger picture and kind of look at things from 10,000 feet above, it makes a lot more sense. Because sometimes, dentists, they get so hyper-focused on the dentistry and the clinical aspect, which mm-hmm. is good, but you also have to step outside the box and look at the bigger picture.
I couldn't agree with you more. That's one of the things about the show. And it's also understanding what we're all good at too. As a business owner, it's difficult to be an entrepreneur. And so you need a kind of an advisory board at the very least, and a network of folks to help you out. I can't be an expert in all things. I'm an expert in what I do. And so, mm-hmm. and I don't like to do all things, right? I'm not an IT mm-hmm. expert, for example. And so that's what you're building here looks to me like is, sort of, a family, but like, even if folks don't want to focus on, if the docs want to focus on clinical and they want to make sure somebody's protecting their interests, and then they talk to you and you mm-hmm. have a knack for helping them accelerate their careers. Like why do associates come to NAC Dental Group?
I think it's because I'm a dentist. I think it's because, I'm not a suit. And I build a relationship with every single dentist that I recruit. Mm-hmm. And I think they also too, I think one of my keys to recruiting associates is I like sending them cases that I do. I like sending them clinical stuff and kind of mm-hmm. just seeing if we're on the same page philosophy wise. But some of these, dentists that I've recruited, it was like a 4 or 5 year relationship prior, so it's not like I just meet these people. And now some of my associates, yeah, but I think I just like to say, hey, I'd love to have you on board. Like, I just, want to treat you fairly, pay you transparently, and not the type of guy to, try to mess with the numbers or anything. Because when I was an associate or a contracting at a bunch of different offices, I wasn't really treated that fairly, and the numbers were played with, and it's not fun to be in that situation. And I kind of I like to kind of almost protect dentists from that happening to them. So mm-hmm. that's kind of like my thing, because when I talk to them, but I think there's just trust, it's different. There's trust. There's a relationship with the doctors that work for me. It's like, do right, do unto others as you would want done to yourself. So that just, mm-hmm. I think that's kind of like my philosophy, but it's a great culture, it's powerful, and we're small, Pat, but I think we're powerful for the size that we are.
I think that sometimes people grow too fast. It's mm-hmm. It's all about smart, intelligent growth, mm-hmm. Which I think that you're doing. And that's why I wanted you on the show, because it's interesting to me. Mm-hmm. I talk to lots of folks all the time, and so how you're approaching it is a little bit different. You're utilizing different network models. You're kind of backstopping your clinical expertise with the business aspects in an intelligent manner. This is the first I've heard really of the compensation and transparency.
Yeah, but I know like a lot of business advisors advise against it, but I'm just a huge proponent of paying doctors on their production. When you walk into the office, you don't want to be focused on what the front desk is doing. Are they collecting? Are they doing their job? You want to focus on doing the production, doing the work, and getting compensated for it. And I think that's the whole point of being an associate, right? If you're an owner, you got to worry about all that stuff. But if you're an associate, you just go in, you do the dentistry, you get paid for what you do, and you go home. And that's the glory of an associateship. So I think being paid on production is the epitome of being an associate, because you can pull up your production report at the end of the day, and I can pull up your production report at the end of the day, and it's kosher. We agree on a percentage, and that's what you're paid on. I just like the doctors being able to monitor their own numbers, so they're accountable for what they get paid. It's not me. They bring the production report to me. So it's kind of it's a cool philosophy, as opposed to them trying to hunt down collections or make sure that somebody paid for something. So.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. I just have Scott running around with a baseball bat. He keeps it in his trunk.
Yeah. But if they're going to get paid on collections, then they might as well just go buy an office, because they're going to have to deal with all that stuff anyways.
All right. So. Well, I'll tell you, when I get calls from, I say the kids, but come July, I always get a ton of calls, and they're like, I just bought a practice, today. And, we close today, and I'd like to be credentialed and have really high fees on Monday. And I just kind of laugh. I'm like, that's not
yeah. It's like, that's like a 2 to 3 month process, buddy.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, welcome to the Business Owners Club. All right.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I don't have a jacket for you, but you're the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the website guy, the marketing person, and HR and everything else. By the way, you got to be a dentist too.
Oh, yeah. And that HR one is so sweet. That's the best part, Pat. That HR, all those women. I always say my job is keeping women happy. Honestly, that's my job, Pat.
No, I hear you. We have a lot of females that work here too. But there does tend to be a lot of females working at dental practices. Why is that? There's not a lot of male front desk / dental assistants / hygienists. Why is it such a female dominated field?
Sometimes I think it's because I think females, they take ownership without being owners. Because if they get emotionally attached to a position, they become very passionate about it. Whereas I think like there's less ego involved. A lot of times I think men, they need to be like the head honcho, or they need to be the owner or be running the show or something. But women, it's like they're more like altruistic. They just want to just help. They're passionate, and that's what I really admire about women employees, is their passion and their dedication. So right. I think that has something to do with it.
They're not, but there's always exceptions, but generally not alpha like some males tend to be. Come in beating their chest, peeing all over stuff, calling it their property because they peed on it.
And a lot of times too, they don't want the responsibility of ownership, because they have children, they have a family. They want to come to work, have a stable job, stable income, and then be able to go home and enjoy their family, enjoy their children. It makes complete sense. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to do too, to be honest with you. Do you have any kids yet?
No, I do not. I do not yet, sir.
Wow. It changes everything.
Yeah.
People are like, what do you do for fun, Pat? I'm like,
hang out with your kids.
I own my own business and I have 2 small children. Yeah. So, I guess if nobody's talking to me and there's nothing on fire and it's quiet, I'm going to sleep. So if you're asking what my hobby is, I'm going with napping. Yes, napping. I like it, and I don't get to do enough of it. I'm a big proponent. So you've been building this down. Are you a Florida native?
Yes. Yeah. I'm from Central Florida, from Brevard, Melbourne. And I went to Florida State for undergrad, came back to Nova Southeastern, Fort Lauderdale, went to dental school, lived down there, get the South Florida experience, which is great. Lots of culture, it really is a melting pot. like Russians and Brazilians and Colombians, and it's an amazing place. It really is. It's so nice to go there and visit. But then I had established a relationship back in Tallahassee when I was in school, so I went back to an associateship, started contracting. Then a group of the offices I was working at, they the guy needed to sell, and I was just the right place at the right time, and then we added on another office, added on another, so it just things kind of fell into place. But also it was kind of like a common sense thing. You kind of go where no one else is, you go where there's a high demand and no competition. And that's like kind of like the philosophy of NAC that I like to embrace. So, and some people just, it's really hard for them to chew on. They just can never imagine sacrificing that, that high end metropolitan lifestyle, God forbid, even if it's for a temporary amount of time, but it's that short-term sacrifice that makes the biggest difference.
Right. So you're living in the Panhandle, and so Florida is not, for those listeners who are not familiar with Florida, Florida is quite the diverse place. So I grew up in West Florida, in Tampa. People, when I tell them I'm from Florida, they have this, I guess, mental image like I'm cracking coconuts all day. And I'm like, no, Tampa's like Philadelphia with palm trees. All right. There's no beach. The beach is an hour away. It's across the bridge. Like there is a bay, but it's brown and it's shallow and it's filled with bull sharks. You don't get in there. But Tampa is is much more blue collar. My wife is from South Florida. And so South Florida is different. So that's kind of like, I don't know, definitely busier, some might say a little bit more, New York City, like, a little bit more entitlement, a little bit more, vain, a little bit more glitzy, than, Tampa, which is kind of more blue collar. I think that's fair. If you have a problem with it, call John Ray, and he told me that. And so anyway, then you get up to the Panhandle, right? And even Jacksonville, Jacksonville is a huge city, right? But the Panhandle in particular, that's not like where I'm from. Like that's southern Georgia, it's southern Alabama. Like it's a totally different culture, right?
Yeah, it's a different culture.
And so you're Brevard, you're kind of, that's, to me, that's surf country right there. That's not South Florida, that's surf country. And now you're up there, and so you're making your way. Did you find any differences between the South Florida folks and the people up in the Panhandle?
Yeah. We kind of talked about this yesterday too, but it's a slower pace. I think people are just more relaxed, more calm, and people just enjoy, a slow, relaxed conversation, which, sometimes in South Florida or more congested areas, it's, you're on the go. It's, get in, get out, say what you got to say and get out of there. Whereas Southern's it's more relationship building, more slower conversations. And it's different, especially if you're used to, wheeling and dealing and having to, talk fast and sell quick. And it's complete.
Slow it down.
Yeah, I got to slow it down. That was probably one of the first things that I learned, my first year being back up here.
Right. So. And so, like, does the FSU play well, just kind of across the Panhandle, or do you get like across the border in Alabama and they're like, you're not SEC, you're not Auburn or Alabama? Is that ever?
I will say too, the FSU office though is a little bit more like South Florida kind of patients, because you got kids that get in there and they don't want to chat. They just
those kids are from South Florida.
Yeah, they want to get in, get out. They got something they got class, or they got to go to the gym, or they have like a frat social or something. There's take care of me and get me out of there. It's not like the more rural offices where it's older folks that want to sit down. So I guess you get a little bit of taste of both patient bases, working with the organization.
So FSU, they're very busy in their pursuits of higher learning, is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Shout out to FSU. So that, that totally makes sense. That's kind of an environment all on its own, FSU. And so kudos to you for, being able to adapt and understand that structure. Do you have docs that want to work at like one location versus another?
I think the doctors mainly want to work at FSU in the beginning, because it's kind of like a dental school clinic in a sense. At first they can't really wrap their head around, going out to Perry, Florida, going out to some rural place.
Shout out to Perry, Florida. Actually, very nice city.
Good old Perryville is what I like to call it. But yeah, no, they go into that office and they seem to like that. But again, you're doing high volume PPO work. And then, you get a taste of going to the rural offices and seeing some more, high-end fee-for-service patients. And it's a little bit more relaxed. You don't have to work so much, and it's much higher reimbursement. Then you kind of get, I have some doctors that really actually prefer the rural offices, surprisingly. They don't mind the commute. So,
and it's interesting. I've had similar feedback from other providers that, they didn't want to, go outstate, whatever in Georgia. It's like, well, Atlanta,
it's an acquired taste, Pat. That's right. What it is.
You know what? I feel like you get a little older, you can become part of these communities, and, you have kids. They're good places to raise kids. That's
exactly. Yeah.
I like slow. Like I said, my hobby is napping. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So what's new and exciting? Like, what are you digging yourself into mentally right now?
Funny enough, I mean, you probably make fun of me, but I just bought a coffee truck. There's a local coffee chain in town. It's like a rave, it's like this local brand. And
what are they called?
Lucky Goat. But the owner, he had a truck, he wasn't using it, so gave me a good deal on it, and I just set up a little franchise with him. But what I did is I set up the coffee shop outside of one of the rural locations, and it's funny. It's like the talk of the town. Everyone's freaking out that they have like good coffee now. It's just driving a bunch of people into the office, but it's kind of funny, like running
awesome.
Coffee. Yeah, but running a coffee business, and compared to a dental office, it's just like the revenues are just like so low. But you're just like, man, I'm just wonder how restaurants and coffee shops like make it. But yeah, no, that's kind of like what I've been kind of my little project. But between that and just for me, it's like I like to work during the week, but man, I like to check out on the weekends. I like to go to the beach and just relax and just, I like being alone or taking walks down the beach, just getting sun, just being healthy, working out. I got a Harley, just cruise around, just have a nice time. But yeah, I think
I want to live the Nathan Kupperman life.
I think right now I'm definitely in a good place, and I'm just nurturing my relationships with my staff and my doctors. Because right now, I think we have a really good team in place. I don't know. I just, everyone's like, why don't you get another office? Or, I have doctors that are, approaching me, like knocking my door down saying, I want to retire. I want to kind of do your model that you're doing. And I'm just like, I'm in a pretty good spot, and I don't want to get greedy by any means either, So
if you stretch yourself too thin and you're not going to have as much time on your Harley or, kind of laying around on the beach.
Yeah.
Hammock.
Yeah, and drinking Lucky Goat coffee.
Right, there you go. So it's Lucky Goat?
Yeah, Lucky Goat, man. They have I think they have 6 or 7 locations, but they're all around Tallahassee. It's like made in Tallahassee. There's like a thing with Tallahassee. It's all about like, local business and like local jobs and local companies. So it's a very prideful community. It's like tight knit, which is kind of nice. So.
Well, my business partner, Scott Marquardt, who does not listen to the show, maybe he'll listen to this one because it's so FSU centered, because he is FSU alumni and he loves it.
Yeah.
And so
I'm a diehard
probably
Seminole
very
too.
familiar with that coffee.
Yeah. He definitely is. I'm diehard Seminole, man. It's hard times right now, but you gotta stick it through,
you can't appreciate the good times if you don't have
your team's your team, man. Your team's your team. So
yeah. I'm born and raised in Tampa, so trust me, I used to losing, and you stick with it no matter what. And I think FSU is going to be fine. There's ebbs and there's flows,
yes,
always,
sir.
But there's too much talent in Florida, and there's too many smart people down there at FSU. They'll get it together, and I'm sure they're good at. They're probably they're probably number one in some sports, like water polo. How are they doing there?
Basketball is actually doing pretty decent this season, so. Yeah. And I know our coach just signed on for another 5 years, which is good. But who knows?
Yeah. So, is there anything you're worried about? In like, what keeps you up at night?
Women. Like women. Can't live with them. Can't live with them. Can't live without them. Right. But it's just
awesome.
It's hard to keep them all happy, and then, one flares up at the other, or, everything will be, you always go through, 2 or 3 week spurts where everything is just, cherries and roses, but you're always going to, you're always just going to have your disagreements between women, there's always amicable solutions, but that's the thing, for me too, it just kind of irks me. Like I want them all to just like get along, and be harmonious together. And sometimes they're not. So I think that's probably like the one thing that'll kind of stress me out sometimes.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to pull the whole Rodney King. And can we all just get along?
Yeah. Sometimes too, I think I'm not as like ruthless as I should be. I like my staff, I feel like I have a connection with them. I know them, it's like I'm going to one of my dental assistants, like wedding, in the fall time. So it's like, I just have a relationship with all the staff. They always say like, well, you need to be in that position where, you're disconnected from the offices and like, you're just sitting on the beach and the offices are just churning along. And I don't think it works like that unless you have another partner or an owner that's managing it. You always have to have an owner manager or else things are going to fall apart, So
yeah,
I think I've just kind of accepted the fact, it's like every once in a while I just got to show some face and like, be nice. You'll have some social events with the staff. I mean, it's not the worst thing, to actually like know your staff, know their names.
I mean, I'll tell you, this is just me. You're only as good as your people, right?
Yeah.
And so that's it. You're only as good as your people. I couldn't do anything without my staff, without my team. They're awesome. They're smarter than me. That's what I like to do. I hire people smarter than me. Not that that's really difficult, but, that's, the team has to be cohesive. Everybody has to be working in lockstep. That's leadership. That's critical, especially at the stage that I think that you're at, and that most of our listeners, if you're a practice owner, you have 1-2 practices. I mean, for me personally, I've got 8 employees. How important is it that you are showing face, as you put it? Critical.
At the end of the day, the staff really, they have to like the owner. They have to believe in the owner. They have to believe in the organization, because if they don't, then they're going to want to go elsewhere, or they're just not going to be as, excited or enthusiastic. There's got to be some direct connection there to like, the CEO or the owner. I feel like that's that's almost like the purpose, having a CEO is like, you have to have a figurehead.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, it's not this that they believe in you. You need to believe in them. With that, Nate, is there any other questions, suggestions, feedback that you have that you would like to share with our audience today?
I guess it would be nice too if you had any kind of piece of advice for me, because I'm a young guy and I'm constantly looking for mentorship, and I'm constantly looking to pick the minds of others. But you've been in this industry for a while, so I guess just any advice you would have for me or somebody that's in my position, that'd be awesome.
I think keep doing what you're doing, believe in what you're doing, believe in your people is the best advice that I have for you right now. Everything else, I'll kind of say off the air, but we're a resource here. So, anytime. And you are now, by the way, Dental Business Radio alumni. We were having a conversation yesterday about on one of our other guests, and you're like, oh, well, that guy was a real badass. And I was in my head, I was like, which one? Everybody who came on the show has been a real badass. So congratulations, you are now a badass. And I believe you were talking about Mark Murphy. So hey, Mark Murphy, we love you. You should sit down and have a cup of coffee with Nate.
Mark's the man. I love for him to take his private jet to meet me somewhere.
He will. So now you're alumni, so you're welcome.
Yes, sir.
So with that, I'd like to wrap up. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, right, they want to talk to you. You have associates. You have anybody that else is that needs to reach Nathan Kupperman. How do they do that?
So you can just do N Kupperman at macdentalgroup.com. So that's that email.
Right. That's NAK Dental Group. So that's Nancy Apple Kit Kat dentalgroup.com. NAC.
Yeah. But honestly too, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. I'm so easy to get a hold of. I'm super responsive. So
yes, thank you for teaching me about the Instagram thing.
Instagram,
the 21st century.
Instagram, honestly, that's a huge thing, especially, you create culture to where, you have all your doctors that are following the Instagram page and you're posting each other's cases. And it's a good way to bring the doctors together. That doctor culture is just so crucial. And I think that's one thing that distinguishes us from a lot of other ones, because I think doctors can become detached sometimes, or they can become lonely, So dentistry can be a lonely thing. So it's nice when you have a group of group of solid docs that are, ethical, quality driven, and you guys just kind of embrace that culture and just cultivate it. And it just keeps getting better and better. It feels like.
That's awesome.
Yes,
I
sir.
think keep doing what you're doing. And you know what? You look so happy, Nathan Kupperman. I want to be Nathan Kupperman when I grow up, maybe. I think
come to the beach sometime, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, I'm not far away, brother. I'm back in Florida all the time. So, with that, let me thank John Ray, our producer. John Ray, great job today, as
John,
always.
You've done a great job, man. I really appreciate you, Ray.
Thanks, y'all. Ray. Thanks to y'all.
We appreciate
great
you, John
job.
Ray. I didn't bring you into this show as much as I have in the past.
You didn't pound
At any
on
rate,
me.
Go ahead. You got something to say, John?
No, you didn't pound on me this time.
No, I let it go. I'm in a good mood.
I wasn't used as the bad customer or the bad client, right? That is annoying to my dental provider.
Yeah, we used him as a case study last show. He's driving around in this little purple Corvette, T-tops, with yuck mouth, being an a-hole, and tracking it. You got to listen to the previous show with Amal from Patient Prism. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you're a vet guy too, John.
No, Pat just made all this up on the fly, so not at all, and certainly not a purple one. Don't have anything against vets, but a purple vet
shenanigans.
Yeah.
I call shenanigans.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we can make this happen, man.
Yeah, this is great. So before we go, I got to thank our sponsor, Practice Quotient PPO Analysis and Negotiation. Everybody at Practice Quotient is a national firm headquartered in Georgia with teams really throughout the southeastern United States. But we have clients from Practice Quotient has clients from Anchorage to LA to Miami to New York. And so if you're a top tier doc, you need top tier representation to get top tier compensation. PPO analysis and negotiation professional services. So thank you very much to our sponsor, Practice Quotient. Thank you, Nate Kupperman. And thank you, John Ray. And with that, until next time, this is your host, Patrick O'Rourke.